Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. And so in this one here, I want to really focus on Rick Grimes, actually. I want to focus on Rick Grimes in these last 4 episodes here, because obviously there's a lot of people that believe that he's going to return in the finale. I don't see it. Like, honestly, I'm just saying it right now. I don't see him returning in the finale. The most that's going to happen is a post-credit scene. I think they're going to build towards a CRM plot. It really seems like it. I mean, if you watch episode 20, like they're going in that direction. But in terms of actually seeing him here, that's quite a bit. Like, honestly, I just don't see how it could honestly realistically happen. It's going to be one of those things where we get a post-credit scene where maybe he's in a helicopter and it comes down and he's first arriving to the Civic Republic base, or maybe we see him in a hospital bed sort of thing, waking up. It's going to be something like that. But I want to talk about that. I actually saw an article here that I'll leave a link to, and it's actually kind of interesting because there's one point that's sort of made about a lot of this. And yeah, I just want to focus on that, and then we'll get into some other stuff here. So anyways, before we go any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. And also, of course, this video will contain spoilers for episode 20, though I'm not gonna talk about that episode too much here, but I will be doing a video later on today talking about the train specifically. Like, I just want to focus on that one aspect to it, because we've been talking about this camp, we've been talking about everyone being taken there. I actually really want to focus on the trains and the use for the trains, because I think that's actually more of where the connection's going to be with the Civic Republic. So like I was saying, there's a lot of people who really do want Rick Grimes to return in the finale. I personally don't see it. And I know a lot of people are disappointed about that. It's just that I don't see how you could realistically have it happen. Like, there's no build to it, to be honest. Like, how do you expect there to be a build? Like, it's based off of where we're going here. Some characters are held captive right now. They're sort of dealing with this. There's going to be some Commonwealth drama. Maybe Civic Republic comes in here. But like, what? Are they just going to be in Alexandria after they defeated the Commonwealth? And then all of a sudden the Civic Republic show up and it's Rick Grimes and now he's a soldier. And like, that's just crazy. To me, Rick will never be a soldier of the Civic Republic. He's not the kind of person to do that. I know I've seen a lot of fan art and stuff like that out there where you see him, dressed up as a Civic Republic soldier, but I just don't see that being the case. I think there's a reason why we haven't seen him for a while. And honestly, I really do feel like the main issue here is that he's not following the Civic Republic way. And we know when people don't follow the Civic Republic way, what happens to them, right? Look at Elizabeth Kublik. She got sent to the health and welfare complex. That one soldier that she dealt with before, Elizabeth Kublik sent him to the health and welfare complex. Basically, I think it's a place where it's like, if you're brainwashed enough there, you spend enough time there, and you're willing to sort of live by the CRM's ways or the Civic Republic's ways, then you're allowed out kind of thing, or you'll get a position, certain things. I don't see Rick ever doing that. There's just no way. Rick he's not like that. Like, he's really not. And that's why I think for the last however long, he's been doing basically manual labor here. I really feel like that's mainly been what he's been dealing with here. He could be traveling all over the place. I remember that in that last episode of Michonne's, there were some logs there, and I think they mentioned Tampa Bay, Florida and stuff. So he could really be anywhere. Obviously, he was on that boat. So that tells you right there, right? He got that message on that phone. Like, when I look at it like that, I'm just like, yeah, you know what? Rick has been held captive for a while. He's just been doing work for the Civic Republic. And that's just like, yeah, like, that's why I don't see him returning. And not even that, if you just focus on the timeline of everything here, if he were to return on the show out of nowhere, literally just appear out of nowhere, then that's literally Rick coming back like right now during the current timeline, which means that they're all together. They're all reunited, which makes no sense, because why is Daryl in France after? Why is Negan and Maggie in New York after? None of it makes sense. That's not the direction that they're going in here. They, that reunion with everyone together, that's going to be what they're building to with the spinoffs here. That's sort of the intrigue of the universe that they're building here. After The Walking Dead ends, I really do believe they're all going to find out he's alive. I don't know how. It could literally be as simple as Judith just finally tells them, but I don't think it's going to necessarily be that. I think they're going to find out some proof somehow from the Civic Republic. I still don't know how, because that's definitely a far leap to make. Like, yeah, you see the Civic Republic, you see that logo and the helicopters. Maybe Negan and Gabriel remember certain things, but how do you make that leap from like, okay, so Rick's there, right? Like, there has to be something there. If you see Jadis, maybe, but again, I don't know if Jadis is going to be appearing here. That's kind of a lot, but you never know what they're planning, right? To me, it's going to be a post-credit scene. The last, like, I think a month ago, or maybe in the last couple of weeks, I mean, time's been flying by, so I don't know when it was, but Gimple, I think Angela Kang as well, but it was one of them that said that they're working on a post-credit scene right now. Maybe it was both of them that said that. They're working on a post-credit scene. I really feel like, you know, they probably saw a lot of the responses to some of the stuff with Rick. Like, honestly, I really feel like what was originally planned was, well, our characters will find out that Rick's out there, this and that. You know, he's alive and it'll be all emotional. They're going to go and look for him. We'll end this Commonwealth story. And then I think that was probably just the plan, is just to end it like that. But I think over time they started to realize, no, people are really expecting Rick to show up here. But there's no way Rick's just going to show up. So how do you do it then? Well, a post-credit scene, right? Like, it's honestly the easiest thing to do here. Just have a post-credit scene. It'll be of, you know, something that he's dealing with on his show, just a quick 30-second scene or whatever. That's such an easy thing to film. Honestly, like, it's just, I mean, you could do it all in one day. It's not going to take a long time. So to me, I think that makes the most sense. I think that is the likely route here. It's going to end The Walking Dead. We're going to feel kind of sad, this and that. And, you know, now we know our characters they know Rick's alive. They're going to go and try find him. And then the credits roll and that's it. The Walking Dead's over. And then we get this post-credit scene where we literally see Rick. Like, we'll actually see him like wake up. We'll see Andrew Lincoln back as Rick. And that's all anyone's going to be talking about, is that post-credit scene, because, you know, the show begins with him waking up, or it technically doesn't, but you know what I mean when I say that. And now it's ending with him also waking up and teasing this bigger universe that they're building here for the next couple of years. And it just builds all the hype for next year. Like, it just really builds so much hype for next year. So that's why I really wanted to talk about that here, because I really wanted to do a video talking specifically about this, because I'm getting so many comments over the last like 2 months of people just really believing that Rick's going to be showing up. And so I just kind of wanted to do a video solely on this topic. I don't see it being possible. And so does that ruin the show if he doesn't return? I personally don't believe it ruins the show at all. When Andrew Lincoln left the show, he really left the show. Like, that's just what happened. He didn't leave it temporarily. It's just story-wise, it doesn't make a lot of sense, because again, if he shows up, all of our characters are reunited then. So what's the point of the spin-offs then, right? Like, no characters are together at that point. It's not going to be a thing where Rick and Michonne show up in the final episode and then they leave again. Like, their family and everyone's going to be so happy to see them. They're going to stay home for a bit. There's no way they're just going to leave again. That'd be crazy. It's also not going to be a thing where we see them show up and then that's it. It ends happily ever after. And then the Rick and Michonne show next year is just going to explain what happened. That's not going to be the case at all, because the Rick and Michonne show is, you know, next year it's 6 episodes, but that's the first season of a continuing series. I don't know how long the show's going to go for, maybe 3 seasons, 4 or 5. I think like 5 at the absolute most, but probably realistically around 3 or 4. And so there's no way you're going to fill in that gap. Like, they're obviously building something like the MCU here. Like, that's what Gimple has planned. You know, that's why they start to call everything the Walking Dead universe now. So we're going to have characters everywhere. We're going to have Daryl, you know, dealing with whatever in France. We have Maggie and Negan dealing with some stuff in New York. We're going to have Rick and Michonne somewhere else. And then we're going to have crossovers with other characters. You know, Fear the Walking Dead characters might go there. There's going to be a bunch of stuff like this over the next couple of years. There's going to be so much of it. I mean, now's the time. They've been teasing this for a long time now, right? And then at the end, there'll be some sort of epic conclusion. And that's kind of, I think, the debate we all have right now is like, where is this going to happen? Like, is it going to happen on the Rick and Michonne TV show? Like, are they all just going to end their shows and then go to that show? That's what's kind of hard about it. I really feel like a lot of these shows are going to end in a way where you can almost, I think in the future, maybe just do a Walking Dead season 12 of 10 episodes and then everyone comes back, right? I don't know if they're going to do that, because I don't know if they can make a Walking Dead season 12. Could you do that? Like, it's not the final season and they marketed that as the final season. Like, maybe they could just come back and do a season 12, or maybe you just do something else. You call something like the Walking Dead universe, or I mean, honestly, the Walking Dead World Beyond is like the perfect thing. Like, if that was the final, like it was a limited series of like 10 episodes, literally just a 10 episode thing, everyone back together, and literally some Fear the Walking Dead characters taking on the Civic Republic, end it in a very epic way, then that would end just literally everything. So I don't know. That's obviously what they kind of have planned here. It seems like Gimple has a lot of things planned out. Obviously, they're taking it year by year. They want to build to this whole thing here. But that's what I mean. Like, there's so much happening. There's so much stuff with all the Rick stuff that I'm just like, you know what? I just don't see the reveal happening in the final episode. It just ruins so much here. And like, honestly, we know The Walking Dead, right? They like to build to stuff. Like, they really like to build to things. They will keep building and building and building from episode to episode as much as they can, right? Having Rick show up randomly in the last episode, literally just makes no sense. It's just, again, I don't see it being possible. And so when you look at this CBR article here, and I'll leave a link down below to the full article if you want to check it out. Like, this article talks about the ending of episode 19. Obviously, we've all watched 20, so we know what actually happens here. So I'm going to ignore some of the speculation on that because we already know what happens. But there's just one part when I was reading it that I found kind of interesting. And obviously, we know in episode 18, Lance mentions that there's certain alliances that, you know, if something were to happen to him, basically would become sort of unstable, or not unstable, but, you know, definitely there would be problems, there'd be issues here. And Pamela Milton she didn't like it. Like when she heard that, she just kind of was like, whatever, you know, like she almost acted like she didn't know what he was talking about, which I kind of find a little interesting. You know, what if, like, and that's the one thing that I haven't ever talked about. What if Pamela doesn't know what Lance has been doing, right? Like, what if Pamela has no idea the certain alliances that Lance has made? Because I think that could be a possibility. And now that Lance is actually dead, like, this is where things could get really dark, right? Like, we're all expecting that the certain thing here with this train and with the Civic Republic or not Civic Republic, but with this Commonwealth camp, we're expecting somehow this is going to lead to there. And I still think there's a really good chance it could. But what if it's actually unrelated to that, and it's literally just because of Lance? Like Lance has been the one communicating with the Civic Republic, and now that he's dead, oh, now there's going to be some problems here, because maybe there's, I don't know, again, it really depends, but like they had that line of dialogue there, unless Pamela Milton knows. And that's the thing about it too. Maybe that's why Pamela Milton kept him alive still, was because of that. That's one of the things that we're going to have to wait and see. Like, that's just, it's going to be really fun here, because wherever we go with this, that's where, you know, some of the Rick stuff could actually come out here. And that's why I'm saying, like, the purpose of this video really is just to talk about, you know, what I'm personally expecting in terms of a Rick Grimes reveal in the final episode. And I just hope that people have their expectations in check. I'm expecting the show to end in a way where our characters, like, literally, they might say that for that last episode where they all find out that he's alive, the show ends, and then there's a Rick Grimes post-credit scene, right? And I think there's going to be people who have big issues with that. And it's one of those things. And I think that's the thing with the final episode here. And I remember Greg Nicotero was talking about that too before. Like, you're never going to make everyone happy, because you're never going to. A finale, for the most part, of a very popular show is never going to be 100% liked. Like, it never happens. It's so rare to happen. Like, even the biggest shows out there, their final episodes just are horrible. People hate them. Sometimes they don't get the character stuff right, or you're thinking, oh, they should have did this more there, or this and that. Like, you have all these criticisms and issues with it. And so that's why I think, you know, I think this era of The Walking Dead's not over yet. The show's ending, but the Rick Grimes story is not over. And I believe Rick Grimes is The Walking Dead. And so this era of The Walking Dead is not over yet because of the stuff they're doing with the Civic Republic and the future spinoffs and stuff. I think once those spinoffs are wrapping up in the next 4 years, let's say 4 or 5 years or something, I think that's where this era of The Walking Dead ends. And that ending there is going to be what I guess the true ending of The Walking Dead should have been. And yeah, you can have criticisms for them ending the shows and doing their own spinoffs and this and that. Maybe you should have just brought everyone back on the show. Like, those are legit criticisms. That's totally fine. I just think that they had a bigger story to tell. They weren't ready to end it with 11 seasons or even 12 seasons. Like, I think they wanted to go on for a while. But I do think also there is some rights issues there, right? Like, I think AMC wants the streaming rights to The Walking Dead back so they can have that on AMC Plus. Thus why I think they ended it, because it's always on Netflix, right? And I think once that Life of a Series deal, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but once that wraps up, I think after a couple of years, they get the rights back. Sort of like Daredevil and The Punisher, Jessica Jones, right? Luke Cage. Like, as soon as those shows wrapped up, after a couple of years, that they went back, right? So I think that's the same thing with The Walking Dead. I think that's why they're doing all this stuff, because there was actually a plan to have Daryl and Carol leave The Walking Dead for a while. Like, they were going to leave to do their own spinoff for a couple of years and then come back. So imagine watching The Walking Dead without Daryl and Carol. Like, that would just feel so weird. It'd feel, honestly, like that definitely wasn't a smart idea. So I'm kind of glad with the way it turned out. Do the spinoffs and stuff, make the story a little bit smaller. Obviously, they'll be bigger in a sense because of the Civic Republic, but you're focusing on a couple of characters now instead of like 30 or 40 billion that they have on The Walking Dead. So yeah, anyways, I just wanted to talk about that. I want to talk about Rick Grimes's, you know, return the final episode, and just some thoughts on that. And I believe he'll return in a post-credit scene. I don't think it's going to be in the last episode. I don't think he'll play a role in the story. I'm just looking at it from a writer's perspective. It doesn't make much sense. Like, what is the story going to end with this Civic Republic plot where he returns and he needs help? You know what I mean? Or is he just going to return and everything's happily ever after and they're fine? Like, it just really, like, that takes all the excitement out of the spinoffs completely. So it's not going to be that. Like, it's really not going to be that. That just sounds like crazy fan fiction. It's not going to happen. It'll definitely be a post-credit scene. It'll definitely be really awesome and exciting to see. And I mean, who knows? Maybe it's not even going to be that. You know, I'm talking about it like it's going to be happening, the post-credit scene. What if it's not even that? What if Rick or Andrew Lincoln doesn't even come back for the last episode? And there's just some sort of teaser or something at the end that's unrelated, because they are filming next year. Like, I know Andrew Lincoln was spotted in Atlanta a couple of times. I think the first time he was spotted there last March was probably more related to the fact that the show was wrapping up filming. He was only there for a couple of days, and it seems like I think he met with Gimple and all that to discuss some of the Rick and Michonne TV show stuff. Like, I don't think that there was anything filmed there. Now, in August, though, he did go back. Like, he actually went back in August for like a week. I know people were talking about that online. So maybe there was something filmed there. You know, if he's there for a week, they couldn't really talk about what was happening. The show was wrapped up already, like long ago before that. Maybe a post-credit scene was filmed then, right? That could have been done by like mid-August, and then a month later, when they said that they were working on something with the post-credit scene, I could see that being what that was. They're actually editing that and working on that right now. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see with this, but I will say that I do find it interesting that Andrew Lincoln had a beard. Like, he actually had a full-on beard and whatnot around that time, and now he doesn't, right? Like, I know it's stupid to focus on those little things, but just as fans of these shows and these characters, you do kind of need to focus on that, because sometimes it tells you a lot about a character. Not all the time. I know sometimes people read too much into it. Like, if a character like all of a sudden shaves their head or shaves their beard, it's like, or even cuts their hair or just anything, it's like, oh, that character's dead on the show now, because they wouldn't do that. But sometimes even the character on the show just literally got a haircut. So yeah, I guess to talk about the how I believe he's going to be returning in this series finale, it is exactly what I said. He's going to be returning, I believe, in a post-credit scene. That's my prediction here. That's what I'm going with. We'll see if I'm right or wrong. Obviously, I could be wrong. Like, I'm saying he's not going to be in the last episode, but like, what if he actually is? I don't know what they have planned. I just know based off of just watching this show for years, things like that don't happen. Yeah, you could argue, well, the show's never really ended before, but I mean, they're not really ending the show, right? They're still doing other stuff. So in terms of how I see it playing out, like I said, it's going to be a post-credit scene. In terms of the ideas I have for the post-credit scene, it depends on what was filmed. Is it going to be some like intense action scene? I don't see it being that, because you kind of have to, like, I don't even know if that's really that cryptic. Like, I don't know. It depends if that's like, maybe that's what they want to go for there. The way I'm picturing it, and I've talked about this so much, I just see it being him waking up in bed there, right? Because the last time we saw Rick, if you think about his very, very last episode, he was knocked out. He's basically unconscious, and he kind of woke up a little bit on the helicopter. He saw Jadis sort of standing above him, and he just kind of passed out again right afterwards. Like, that was literally it. Rick basically passed out. And then we heard Space Junk, which was really awesome. I love that song, honestly. I hope they bring that song back for the Rick and Michonne TV show, but I don't know if they will. We'll see. Just really cool, because I really liked that in the first episode, and then they brought it back for his very last one. It's such an iconic Rick Grimes Walking Dead song, right? But I really do picture it being those two things. It's going to be something where maybe there's a lot more effort put into it, where we actually see the helicopter landing down, and then there's some Civic Republic soldiers sort of helping Jadis and the others. And then they take Rick and they take him to a new place or whatever. Then Jadis speaks with some people. And basically it kind of cuts to the next scene. And then we see Rick there, and I guess waking up and wondering where the hell he is. The reason why I don't see it necessarily being that, like in terms of the whole, like seeing him land, is because it's so much to film. But seeing him waking up in a hospital bed and then reacting to being at the Commonwealth, at the Civic Republic, that I think is a really good possibility. Like, could you imagine him basically, he wakes up, he walks to the window, because maybe he's in like an actual hospital. So he walks to the window to look down, and he sees the world back to normal. I could see something like that, and then it just sort of teases this bigger world. Maybe the camera is outside the building and it's pulling away from Rick, looking out that window, and then it just pulls back and back and back, and then you just see how big the Civic Republic is, and then just teases this really big story, and then it just cuts to black, and maybe it just says, and maybe they'll copy Marvel and they'll do something like this, but it'll just say Rick Grimes will return in 2023. Like, that would be so cool. Honestly, that would be really awesome. Maybe they reveal the title of the show there. Like, it might be something like that, or maybe it's something that sort of happens throughout the show. Maybe they actually sort of have something there where Rick is in the middle of like trying to survive. Like it's just an unrelated scene. It's not going to be, you know, what I just said, which I feel like is the most predictable, you know, route to go with. What if we just see Rick in the woods? He has a different jacket on or whatever, and then he's just like fighting walkers. He's with other people. Like it could really be anything like that. Honestly, they could really go in any sort of direction with this, and it might not even be Rick. What if it's Michonne, right? What if, like, it's just, the possibilities really are endless here. But again, I guess if it was Michonne, as exciting as that is, you do want Rick. Like, people really care about Rick, right? So that's why when I look at it, I'm like, you know what? I think that's probably what it's going to be. I mean, this video is definitely long enough. I could probably end the video here, but this is my overall prediction here. And this is what I believe is going to happen in the last episode. I think they're going to end the Commonwealth story. They're going to find out Rick's alive. There's going to be some reveals there. They might find out specific locations as to where he could be. There might be some stuff that happens to Maggie and Negan, you know, to cause them to go to New York. There might be some stuff with Daryl where he has to go check out somewhere. I mean, because somehow he's going to get captured and taken to France, right? So there's going to be something here, obviously, that happens. And I think The Walking Dead will sort of, it's going to end on a bittersweet note. Because first of all, we're not going to see Maggie and Negan leave. Like, we might see them leave. Maybe the episode before something will happen. I'm not entirely sure. But with Daryl, I think he's just going to ride off, you know, into the sunset on his bike. And he's going to go find Rick. And it's just sort of like this happily ever after ending. That's where in the post-credit scene, we will actually see Rick here. And I think that's a fitting end. Even though it technically is a cliffhanger in a way, for some reason, I think it's a fitting end to the show. Because you're seeing him again. It's teasing the future. And it's just comforting to know he's right there. Like, he's still here. He's still in this story. And I don't think, honestly, a couple months ago, 4 months ago, it was June 17th. I don't think any of us could have predicted that that would have happened. A lot of us, you know, believed that the Rick movies were still happening then. We thought the Rick movies were coming out maybe 2024 or something like that, or 5, right? It felt like things were coming out like way later, and now look at where we're at right now. So, and that's kind of why also I believe that Rick's not going to return the final episode. If you just think of the filming and stuff, right? You know, like the filming process of all of it. Like the Rick Grimes television show idea, I don't think was finalized until months later, because they announced it at Comic-Con, but I know it took them a while to sort of finalize this and come up with some really interesting ideas here. So there was a lot of talk of things. It went back and forth. They decided this, they talked about this, whatever. I just don't think it was ready then. And so I think if you're going to do that, there's no way you're going to be committed to filming a final scene and be in the actual story there, right? Especially if you don't know what you're doing with your own like TV show / movie. So yeah, I don't know. I'm telling you guys, I believe it's going to be a post-credit scene, but I would like to know what you guys think. Do you think that there's going to be a post-credit scene here? Do you think that Rick will return the last episode? Do you think I'm completely wrong with all of this? I apologize for making this video very long. I just really wanted to talk about this. I just wanted to talk about this idea. We're about a month away, a little over a month away until the final episode where we could potentially see Rick. So I just wanted to give my thoughts on this right now. We'll see if I'm right in a month. We're all going to know. But yeah, so anyways, I'm going to leave it here. Post all your thoughts down below. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.